This is the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. Here's your host, Corey Tusick.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. On this week's episode, I talked to HODL Tarantula. That's his Nym on Twitter. What he does is he has a company, Midstream, which mines off of natural gas, so stranded natural gas on wells that are, not being used, no pipelines going out to them. He does Bitcoin mining off of them. So I wanted to talk to him about that, and then we also talked about, the unglamorous side of Bitcoin mining and getting your hands dirty and all that kind of stuff. Then we also get into, how to spot scammers in Bitcoin and he talks about the litmus test for Bitcoiners to give for scammers, and I thought it was pretty good advice. So with all that going on, I thought it was a good thing to bring up. The sponsor for today's episode is, let me get the ad read. I'm getting terrible at this. Coinbeast Connect. Do you have questions about Bitcoin? Personalize your learning and book a one-on-one video call with a Bitcoin pro on Coinbeast Connect. Learn about mining, security, the Lightning Network, DeFi, taxes, and many other topics. It's really easy. Choose your topic and pro, select a date when you're available, and bring your questions to the meeting room. Book your first call today by going to coinbeast.com and clicking on the Connect tab. Be prepared for the financial revolution and get the knowledge you need. And also, it's brought to you by Movies Plus. That's my streaming platform. We have I think I just licensed 3 Bitcoin-related documentaries. So they should be going up in the next week or so. So unless you're listening to this on the first day, it'll probably be available there. Just go into the App Store, look for Movies Plus, and you can sign up for a 30-day free trial. Give it a shot. Hope you guys enjoy that. You want to reach out to me on Twitter, it's at Corey_Tusick. And the Twitter handle for the show is at Bitcoin Simply. And you can email the show, bitcoinmadesimplepodcast@gmail.com. Thanks. So how did HODL Tarantula become your Nym, your pseudonym online? Where did that come from?
That came from working in automation and building things and stuff like that. It was my crew. We were kind of messing around, and there was picture on my thing on one of my workstations, and I started going by not my tarantula, because there was this weird spider thing out there in our warehouse. It was a picture of it, and I'm always building stuff in there, and spiders build webs and things like that. And so one of my guys was like, "That's you right there in the picture." And so they stuck it on my desk, and it just kind of was like a running joke, like a nickname. And then when I got involved with Bitcoin, I just kind of morphed it into a Twitter handle, like HODL Tarantula.
So in your regular life, then you go by Tarantula.
Well, it was just a joke at this automation facility. Nobody in my real life really calls me that or anything. Even at the automation facility, they just called me out by my my handle on the radio. Yeah. So.
So what is at an automation facility? What exactly do you do there? I'm sure automation is in basically many different fields. So what exactly do you focus on?
Well, so pretty much what we do is we work with the hardware and the software interfaces with the hardware. Is what I was doing with my position. So troubleshooting photo eyes, issues where code is corrupted on hardware and it needs to be reloaded and stuff like that. Troubleshooting issues on different types of lines where there could be assembling, or there could be products moving, seeing how the equipment is operating and seeing where there could be snags or little problems with things and products in the equipment, because a lot of times they make equipment to run multiple different types of products or different sizes of products, so that it's more valuable. If you only got one piece of equipment doing one little job, you have a lot of different things going on in a facility. That niche piece of equipment, unless it's doing something that's extremely necessary and particular, they're going to want it to be versatile. because it just saves money. So with that, you sometimes you see, little tweaks and stuff that maybe the engineers that built it didn't think of at the time. And like, so sometimes we'll go out on the floor and we'll just make it like little, I guess, call them customizations to the equipment to get it to perform better on site once it arrives. So pretty much just like in automation and robotics, it's taking care of the equipment, doing the preventative maintenance on it, like the motors, like checking sure for like hydraulic fluids and gears and the oil and the motors and everything like that. And checking like the pneumatic pumps and stuff like that, and like air compressors. And we got all kinds of different, forms of energy usage out there, like so hydraulic and electric, and there's fluids like in the hydraulic lines and stuff, like the fluid dynamics. So it's just pretty much troubleshooting and applying in real term, like real physical application, all the stuff that people are reading about and they see in the Boston Dynamics videos and stuff. Because you take one of those robots and break it down, and like you take its arm and you stick it on a conveyor over here and you make it do one action, and you take another part of that robot and take its leg and stick it over here and make it do another action for another aspect of the job. And so it's just basic application of and troubleshooting of these types of systems.
So I mean, it kind of sounds like you're basically peeling apart these big pieces, and if you had like a tarantula robot, like your picture, as like you're pulling off each one of those legs, and making sure it does specifically what it's supposed to do, and all the code and everything is programmed. That's fascinating. There's a robotics company here in Pittsburgh that they're like small. I forget what their name is, but I bumped into them like a handful of years ago, and I had this tech idea that has to deal with robotics. So we did like an NDA and everything, and I pitched it to them, and they were like, "Whoa!" So we just haven't got to the point yet where like I have the free time to be able to go with it. But if we ever meet in meet space, I'll have to run it past you, because there's just there's a lot of cool stuff going on in the robotics world. So before we get into the Bitcoin side, to dig deeper into the robotics, are we going to get taken over by robots? Are we living in the beginning of the movie I, Robot?
No, we're building back doors, man. Don't worry. There's no way. Plus, in a lot of these facilities, a lot of the equipment, you don't really tear it down unless you're doing a lot of preventative maintenance work on it. And the modifications are really they're stuff that you wouldn't even think about. So it's really, a lot of people make it out to be way more difficult and complex, I think, than what it really actually is. It's nuts and bolts and computer chips. A lot of
if-then statements.
And then you got the application of the software that allows for the control of the hardware. So it's Rockwell Automation is a company that I like, and I used a lot of their equipment in the past. Their software is easy, and it's they run a lot of Linux stuff, so I like their stuff.
Nice.
They have nice case erectors, I'll tell you that. Pearson's a company that makes case erector, and they run Rockwell Automation on them, and it's pretty clean setup. In fact, I had $12 an hour warehouse employees running and loading the software and taking these machines and operating them like it was easy. So they got good stuff.
So they're building
also
their own
Kiva
miners?
Robotics is just keeping like problem like occurrence issue, like the amount of times you'll experience a problem like on a warehouse floor with a particular piece of equipment. Pearson and Kiva Robotics and stuff, like their stuff is like pretty simple and straightforward, and so I've even been able to like train entry-level warehouse labor to do simple things on this equipment that like to where I don't have to run out there and work on it frequently.
That's awesome. Something that a college would probably charge you, $50,000 to learn.
Yeah, well, yeah, tech school definitely would say like, yeah, oh, well, you can't, you can't go do this or that because you're not certified. Well, I mean, it's just, you got to just show people simple stuff and make sure that they're interested in learning
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's going to determine whether or not it's retainable.
Um, so tell people what kind of Bitcoin mining you do. And we can dig into that, what Bitcoin mining is like and everything, but you're not just plugging ASICs into your walls at home, are you?
No, sir. Although I do like even after Midstream Enterprises, which is the natural gas Bitcoin mining corporation that me and my partners formed. Even after that, after pushing my whole fleet of ASICs and and then joining with them and going on natural gas, I still continue to buy ASICs and plug them in at my house.
Do you
And
do
then
you
the
heat your
shop.
house?
Yeah, it is possible. Yeah, I have S17 Pro keeping the shop warm right now.
Nice. So you started Midstream, and you guys, where do you deploy your miners? You're using natural gas. So, I mean, I live in Pittsburgh, so we have a lot of natural gas here.
Mhm.
How would I go about starting to turn these, companies that have all this natural gas into mining machines?
Oh well, yeah, like you had said, like I'm not just plugging them into the wall anymore. So basically, it's all about the stranded energy with what we're doing at Midstream. We acquire these assets that are producing but stranded and not capable of making it to the grid for utilization. And well, we go out there and toss a generator on the site and build up a little data center, and basically we build a digital pipeline.
So you just start
And
taking that
we,
stranded
in some
energy
case,
from them.
that's
You,
right.
you,
And
you
no, yeah, go ahead, Corey.
no. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think we had a little bit of a lag there, so I was jumping in. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, so I was gonna say basically, generating our own electricity on site allows us to create a digital pipeline for this energy. The gas is just energy, pretty much, and the problem is getting it to where it can be utilized. In fact, that's the problem with most all energy production all over the world. The source where it's required is far from the production. In energy, electricity loses its you lose quite a bit of its ability to its power in transit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, with like
So
latency and stuff like that.
yeah, and well, I mean, just like basic. So I'm not an electrical engineer.
Hmm.
But I mean, over distance, the electricity produced at, like, let's say a hydro facility, if it has to travel 100 miles via a line, that the amount of electricity produced on site there is going to be less when it gets to the end point B, from A to B, because electricity, voltage power is lost through transmission in the line. I don't know the exact details on that. I'm not gonna like try and break it down and make up some stuff, but pretty much that's a huge problem. So what we're doing solves that, big time.
Yeah, you're storing instead of wasting energy, you're converting it into something that could be used later, basically.
I think of it like a digital battery almost.
Hmm. Yeah, because with a battery, even it's not going to keep the energy forever, and it's not going to keep it. 100% of what goes in isn't what's going to come out. Um,
Correct.
Whereas with mining Bitcoin, so you're attaching, you basically spin out, run a generator, and you have these mining facilities, that are just, you're plugging in and taking all their excess energy that would literally be going to waste, right? So like,
Yeah, correct. And the really kind of like ugly part about what does go to waste and how it goes to waste is it is methane and in an area that's not accessible. And so that well would just pretty much sit there and never ever get utilized. And over time, the asset, it will decay. The well itself, the pipes and everything else involved with it, rust, oxidation will occur. Eventually, if the well isn't maintained or worked, it will start leaking methane into the atmosphere. And with what we're doing, the methane being 30% more damaging to CO2 and not utilizable by anything for any good purposes to, convert back into something we can use, like CO2 is by trees converted back into oxygen for us to use. Well, when we run this methane through a generator, it comes out as CO2, and then, hey, trees can turn that into oxygen for me and you. But at the other end of the spectrum, where if it was just sitting there doing nothing, or even just let's say they attempt to plug it, and when they plug a well, there's no guarantee that those are not ever going to leak again, ever. I've seen plugged wells where people have told me that it smelled like sulfur before, and that's a methane leak pretty much. And so it's not 100% guaranteed. But the thing that we can do is we can, cap that thing with a generator and control at the rate with which that methane is pulled out and converted into CO2 and mine the Bitcoin with it. And with that, you're also creating a revenue stream that is good for the landowner, the leaseholder on the well, also good for the local municipalities because it creates taxable revenue for them. It just also creates jobs for, technicians in the area who are going to be working on the generators and things like that. There's a lot of benefits to what we're doing at Midstream when it comes to the stranded gas and mining off grid like that.
It's like a win-win.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't really see any downside to it at all.
So then why do we have so much, I know the bigger reason, behind like the media manipulation and the control of the message, all that kind of stuff. But like, how is it not more well known that, Bitcoin mining doesn't hurt the environment? It's actually good for it.
Well, so kind of like what you said, when the system threatens when our system threatens the status quo, it doesn't benefit them. But unfortunately, they're playing against game theory here with Bitcoin. You have large corporations out there that are talking about mining operations. Like I think Chevron or ExxonMobil, I can't remember which one, talked about doing multiple megawatt mining facilities up in Canada. There's large players out there in the field that want to, position themselves accordingly to take advantage of this, and it's happening. But at the same time, you also have to look at how close are they to the money printer. If they were to take a position in something that would potentially compete and cause issues for the cantillionaires out there, they would be looked upon like despots by those individuals, somebody that's not going to be somebody fun to play with in the future in regards to the games that they play. So I think that it's hard for them,
Yeah, kind of like how
there's a lot of, and I was going to say, a lot of energy companies get subsidies and other types of government grants, and they get money that is printed, and not all of them take it. There's a lot of small producers out there that were destroyed by what happened with the Obama administration when they were after they were told to go and produce all this gas, and then they end up overproducing and getting pushed in. The market got pushed down, and they all ended up suffering. And some people, some of these larger corporations, they got helped out with all that, and they're not like filing for bankruptcy or anything like that. And so but a lot of smaller producers really suffered and had a lot of had some real difficult times, and still are suffering and having difficult times because of all that market manipulation that's occurred and still does occur. And so I think that, some of the large players that, need to be always well positioned in case of a crisis to take advantage of that burr that's out there in regards to the money printer. Well, they're going to probably, be a little bit more reserved in regards to just going all in on Bitcoin mining on their assets.
Yeah.
Plus, some of these guys, their assets are well established and have been for a long time, and they have like contracts that prevent them from doing anything else with their gas. And then there's also producers like out west that have venting of these gas wells, and they flare these gas wells to relieve pressure on other parts of their operation, because they're pumping oil per se liquid out of the ground in other places. And so there's a lot of different reasons why one of these companies may not be able to jump in right away, if that makes sense.
A lot of red tape that they have to go through, and
oh, absolutely, big time. I mean, even us as a small company, we had a local EPA office come out and ask us questions about our generators, just like, oh, you guys are running these generators. Well, we want to measure how much production in regards to greenhouse gases you guys are making. And so we gave them all our information and allowed them to see everything, and everything actually came out okay. We turns out we weren't even producing enough greenhouse gas emissions that they said it wasn't even enough for us to have to register with them. And wow. So yeah, and the thing is also because what is CO2? It's not actually it's not like methane. So if you want to compare the two, I mean, it'd be a disservice for them to remove what we're doing from that site and allow the decay of that well to continue.
Yeah, I mean, I say all the time, where I don't buy this whole like carbon neutral, carbon negative thing. It's like, the plants in the Jurassic period, the plants were like taller, bigger, greener, because of because they had more carbon emissions. And I also, I mean, I'm not an expert in all this, so like I'm just saying, I look at it from like the surface level, and I'm like, this sounds really weird that we want to go carbon negative, and like human beings' bodies are made of carbon.
Hey, so just to be clear, my friend, we are the carbon they want to control.
That's what I completely agree. The one night I was I was on a Twitter space, and I was just going to bed, and I was signing off, and I said, all right, I'll leave you with this. I was like, if they want the world to be carbon negative and we are carbon beings, what does that mean for us?
Yeah, that doesn't look good.
So it's just interesting to me. It kind of exposes what's the end game, of what's their end goal, because they're like, they came up with all this stuff of like, we have to solve these, gases going into the, air and everything. And you're like, boom, we solved it. And they're like, well, not like that, like they just,
you gotta have goalposts that you can move, brother.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're really good at that. They'll tell you that much. So we connected back when I did a space with CoinBeast, which actually you're one of the pros on CoinBeast. So if anybody wants to,
I love CoinBeast. If anybody out there hears this and they're interested in like getting one-on-one with me and having like my undivided attention, and so they can find out, about setting up their own operations and stuff, because, once you scale, it's a little different than just
running a miner in your house.
Yeah, it's a little different. I consult with people through CoinBeast, so yeah, if anybody was wanting to have undivided attention and not and don't want to waste their money unnecessarily on equipment that may be shoddy or lose time, because time is money, so like knowing what to do and where to go first, it saves a lot of both.
Yeah. And so we did that Twitter space, and you were in the car for part of it. You were in there popping in, doing the Q&A about mining, and and you said in there, and that's why I wanted to talk. You said, it's not all like the mining isn't what people think it is, and I have this joke too that I basically put for the animation cartoon I'm making for about Bitcoin, but where like the miners, like all of you guys that work in the mines, Marty Bent or anybody like that, like you guys like come out of like a coal mine, like covered in dirt and everything. But get into that a little bit because I mean
That's
people don't really
not too.
understand. It's not as glamorous as it sounds.
No, that's not too far off, actually. That's cool. I like that you mentioned Marty. I love Marty Bent. He tells it like it is, straightforward, and I like the Citadel Dispatch that he comes on with Matt Odell and stuff. They
Hmm.
got good guys out there, always doing good stuff. The not so glamorous side of things is something I'm actually about to go deal with after I complete the rebuild kit on my chainsaw. And that chainsaw is actually going to be a part of this not so glamorous side of mining.
Wait, a chainsaw
So
is part of Bitcoin mining?
yeah, in this case, yes. When we're off-grid mining via satellite and abandoned gas wells or gas wells that aren't reachable to the grid, yeah.
Hmm.
So and then in issues, we had some foul weather come through, and our our assets are out in the middle of nowhere, so we require 4-wheel drive to get there, and so we had a tree come down and blocked off the access road, and so yeah, I
Ah.
yeah, so it's gonna be going out there and chopping up some trees and playing lumberjack for an afternoon, and fortunately, the technician was just out there and he was able to circumnavigate the tree, but it was not pretty. He tore up the field pretty good next to the path, like trying to get back up on the with the 4-wheel drive, trying to get back up the hill. So
Yeah.
it's it's unforeseen things that, like, there's no way we could have known that tree was going to fall down in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Also, we had last winter, I was going out to a data center and it was like a solid sheet of ice all the way up the hill, and so had to get the chains and the 4-wheel drive and traverse that, and actually was like, my wife didn't want me to go out there, and I don't blame her, because there's no cell reception, and so if anything
Yeah, man.
happens, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it could be ugly. It could not end well. I mean, so even if you like try to call 911, it is through a satellite relay, and so they would still have difficulty, assessing where you're at, the situation right away. You'd have to make sure that you're conscious and capable of telling them everything very clearly to make sure that there's no miscommunications, because 911 doesn't work the same over Wi-Fi and satellite as it does through cellular. They can't just pinpoint your location.
Yeah.
So you got to be like there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my wife, actually, last winter, I got her to come out with me. I because she was so afraid that I wouldn't return. Like it had just, like, it was like real bad snow and everything, and I got, I had trusty chainsaw again, and I had my truck and some we call it. I had a winch and some chains, and I ended up having to cut up some trees also that they got heavy from snow and they fell in the path, and pulled them out of the way. I asked my wife, I was like, feel like helping? She's like, no, I'm just here to observe. And so that was, I
He's
tried,
like,
but
I'm here to just
then
make sure that you don't die. I'm not here to do any work.
pretty much. So then we get past where the trees were down, and that's where the damn ice sheet on the hill. I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna get up this hill, and so just throw on the chains, back it up, and got a good running start, and took off the traction control and just floored it, man. Made it up the hill.
That's
Then,
yeah,
let's see.
that's something you have to do with you can't use those computer traction control things that they have in the cars nowadays. You got to just go for it.
No, you would literally be stuck because the tires on the traction control stop moving and it moves the power to the other side. And when you're on a sheet of ice, nothing grips. So it just, the wheels stop spinning, the car just starts sliding back down the hill. That's not no fun, especially when you're in like a Ram 2500. The thing's it's not like a little car, you know? And so, we made it up the hill, and she was surprised. She didn't think we would.
So whenever
I looked at her face when we got up there, and she's like, her eyes were big and her mouth was still open. I was like, "You all right?" And she's like, "I didn't know we were gonna get up the hill. I thought we were gonna slide off to the side or something." I was like, "I did too."
You don't let them know that in the moment, you know.
No.
That's what us men have to do. We have to sit there and just be like, "Oh, that's fine," but on the inside, we're like, "Oh my god, this is going down."
And then I got another one for you here. Not too long ago, we had an issue where there was some confusion at an access gate because we have gated access with locks and everything. I guess it was the landowner went out there and had one of the other. See, we have liquid oil coming off of one site and gas well, and we had a truck that was coming out there to pull the oil off of the site. And one of the individuals, I guess, was new in the rig picking up the oil, and he jumped the owner's lock on the gate because we run our locks in a chain style so that everybody has a lock on the gate. And well, he must have been frustrated because he cut off the whole chain and like just threw his own lock on there. And we called each other and we're like, all right, what's going on? So I had to go out there and I placed trail cams out there on the gate because
to see what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, we got security cameras on the data centers and everything, right? But the access road could be like a quarter mile down, and running a camera a quarter mile back to the data center is rough. So I have like trail cams that send me like, that store the data and they'll send it out like once a week. They'll send all the photos out, I can have it, send the data with a Wi-Fi extender back to the data center and ship me the images. And so I saw that like, okay, it's just the landowner and nobody trying to like steal it from us or anything.
Yeah.
And so called a meeting, got new chain locks and stuff, but just like little weird, stupid stuff happens sometimes, and you gotta, have a straightening.
Yeah.
Get everybody in a group and straighten things out. But then let's see, trying to think of what else has happened out there.
So your deals with the gas companies or with the landowners?
Sometimes we might buy the lease from a person that maybe already holds the lease and they're just looking to offload it because they can't, like service the well. Or maybe we know the landowner and we just lease it from them. But we don't really buy the well or buy the land that the well is on directly. There's a lot of involved with owning the land. There's taxes on the land. There's taxes. Then after that with production, and so also there's the liability of, let's say, if something happens selling the property now and everything else, it's just cleaner and more straightforward and easier to just lease the well and then produce the well. Because that's
so you lease the well itself,
right?
Like these are you're talking about stranded wells necessarily. You're not necessarily going to places where there's a company pumping out the gas and you're just saying, hey, give me your extra gas. Like you're going to stranded wells.
That's correct.
Okay,
wells,
so
wells that they can't get a pipeline to. Period.
Oh, okay. So then you don't have any competition, and for the people that are going to lease the well out, they're like, yeah, nobody was coming, like this is gas that was sitting here.
That's correct. They are in a position where they need our help pretty much. And I guess if some people were like, there's those Kevin O'Leary types out there that are just like, yeah, they got nobody that'll help them. They got nowhere to go. I'm gonna go get this gas from them guys, and I'm I'm gonna wring it dry from all the profit out of these guys. But like literally, you don't want to look at it like that. You want to look at it like a mutual beneficial relationship where you're helping that landowner to realize something that would have otherwise been lost. Whereas like maybe your Shark Tank type might be like, you can take advantage of that guy's gas,
like drink your milkshake.
Right, take it easy, man. We're, that's one of the things I like about like a lot of Bitcoiners out there, like Bitcoin maximalists are, we're about the truth and like being open and straightforward. And we don't like, that sly roundabout BS. We like to keep it real, 100 all the time, because that's what Bitcoin is. It's an immutable ledger that can't be, try fraud with that,
Yeah.
And so
immutable truth for the first time in history.
Thank you. And so that's exactly why I love it, and that's where I come from.
Is a basis of immutable truth.
Pretty much.
I found that a common theme with a lot of Bitcoiners, and we can all see it in each other. And more importantly, we can see it. We can see when it's not in someone else. And I've said it, before, where I'm like, I sleep real easy at night because I tell the truth and I don't lie. And it's amazing when you do that. You're like, oh, like you can rest easy. Like I can't imagine, people that, because my wife would say something like with my movie business, like, oh, what if, you get lawsuits threatened against you and stuff like that. And I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Like, it bothers me in the sense that I have to spend time with it, but like, I'm abiding by the contract. Like, I'm not,
right.
You know what I mean?
Don't worry about the end or the outcome or how it will affect us, because we know that we're doing like the real deal. What's like, there's nothing to question.
Yeah. And you can sleep easy at night whenever you're like that, and so I've seen that with a lot of Bitcoiners where like we can all kind of recognize in each other of like, okay, you're for immutable truth. And when there's people that aren't, they tend to get called onto the carpet a little bit. I guess, well, to segue, I mean, we could get back into the mining, but like, since we're kind of talking about that, what do you think about all the stuff going on right now of like the toxicity talk and, safe spaces that people want and all that kind of stuff?
I love the toxicity talk, because just like you said, you just mentioned the rug, right? And then coming onto it. Well, that's so that they can pull it out from under you. Okay. And I'm for toxicity, because every time anybody's ever come on with the rug pull, they always come on real nice and smooth and nice and safe and cushy and plush, and they make you feel real good. And it's like, yo, man, hey, I already feel good because I'm doing the right thing every day and trying to improve my situation, myself, and the situation of those around me. Come at me and just tell me what you got,
Yep.
I'm not trying to be toxic. I'm just trying to be straightforward, because time is limited and I want to make the most out of all of mine. I mean, if somebody wants to like be, I guess, offended by that, well, I apologize. Get some thicker skin. I mean, but to be honest, I'm not really sorry. So I guess the apology wouldn't be warranted. It's just that literally, I mean, there's no safe space in the world. That's not a thing. You go out in nature and sit down for like a few hours and look at you could start from the smallest thing, the insects, to then go to the birds and the squirrels. Then you go to like the wolves and the coyotes and the deer. There's not a safe space between any of them. And I mean, we have this stability that we can employ and employ in life and use to like de-escalate situations where people might be aggressive or like maybe speak violently. Because I mean, I'm not for violence, but I think that if somebody's got something that isn't going to be helpful, or it's going to actually be potentially harmful to other people around me, and I'm there and I'm witnessing it, you best believe that I'm calling it out straight away for what it is, because I've been taken advantage. I've been taken advantage of before in the past. Fortunately, I'm, smart enough to admit that and be honest and review, the situations and what happened so that it doesn't happen again. I can learn from that mistake so I don't repeat it. But, there's a lot of people out there that don't have any idea. And I mean, if I'm sitting there and somebody's bringing it to the table and it's garbage, I'm not going to sit there and just let them feed it to my friends and family, because I'm as guilty as they are. If I don't say anything and I recognize that it's a scam or that it's weak sauce and it's going to cause harm,
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, you're complicit. If you're not calling it out.
I agree. I mean, I've said, because the last episode I had Lamar on, and it was before Lamar got twisted up in this whole, I don't know if you've seen the whole ETH, or, like he was talking about, he's not pushing ETH, but he was, saying his son wanted to use it, and it just became this thing. And I just stay out of it. But I, I was saying to him that, like, it's just my nature. And like, I would hope that most people, like, you don't have to be mean to somebody, but that also doesn't mean that you're being safe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a safe space is where they're like, all ideas are accepted, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like, if somebody is bringing in bullshit, call it out. Like, say it right to their face. And like, so that's what, like, I think is really jarring for people. And that's why they want these quote unquote safe spaces, because they're not used to confrontation.
No, I concur. And I would say that also people should not attack him for his son's decision and like what his son wants to do. I mean, if it was my kid, I would just say, look, kid, if you're going to be a shit coiner, every mistake that you make, just know that you're going to own it. I'm not going to be there to bail you out. Like, if you lose all your money because you did this or whatever, and if something happens to you, do not look to me to recover any of those funds, period. And also, until you start making more sound decisions based on the facts instead of just, ridiculous VC, schemes that is what they seem to spin up with these shit coins. Excuse my French, but that's what they are. They're just, it's not, I tell them that I'm not going to support any other financial ventures going into the future either, because you're not capable of making sound money decisions now. I don't think you'll be able to handle anything going forward. So like, anything that you want, that, use the money you made from your Ethereum and have fun staying poor. And
I mean, that's what I would
say that to my own son. I guess that I'm a mean guy and I'm a toxic meanie. But you know what? I wasn't raised, with all the super, nice, like, easy peasy. Here, you lost your dollars in this scam. Here's some more dollars. Nah, if I lost anything, I didn't eat. So it's very important to me that sound decisions are made.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I'd be like, look, you want me to help you code or something? I can help you do that. But there's a bigger monetary discussion there, and it's an education that needs to happen, and then it's just like, there's, to me, that whole scenario is not the biggest issue that, like, we're like Bitcoiners are facing, because like there's other people out there that are just really trying to get after people's money, and like, it's just like, it's like, I feel like people, they take it as like toxic, like I said, like, to me, it's like, don't be, take their argument, don't be mean, take their argument, point out the weaknesses, and then lean on it. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a wound and you lean on it, it causes them to wince, and like,
no,
so it's
that's
like
real. Like, I mean, that's 100%. If I get into a fight with you and you walking up to me and I see you're walking a certain way, you best believe I'm about to kick you right in that knee on the side that you're walking funny. That's it, man. And it should be the same way with, you know, people in their spaces. If there's a caca coinery coming out, you know, I mean, if it's going to be something that could potentially separate you from your Bitcoin, you know, go for the throat, hit the knee on the way in, you know, don't take a chance with the hardest asset ever known to in the history of the world. Like,
yeah,
why would
don't be afraid to be, you know, abrasive.
I mean, it's the
You're
snake
protecting
oil
freedom.
salesman always has a nice, you know, pitch. It ain't like these guys know that they catch more flies with honey than vinegar. It's not hard.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I'm just hoping that you know, we get on to some all-time highs so that we can start moving past those you know, because it's just like
bored
they're
Bitcoiners,
gonna, huh? Yeah. What's that?
Bored Bitcoiners, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because, you know, I'm so new to this space. Like I've had money in Bitcoin and like went all in like a year and a half ago or so. But and then, you know, I've been paying attention longer than that. Um, you know, and like paying attention on the surface level for a very long time, but like actually digging in for the last couple of years. And yeah, so I don't know the space that well. You know what I mean? But like I see some things coming in and I'm like, it's like I'm not in a position yet to stand up and be like, hey, I've been here long enough to know that this is gonna be BS. So I sit there and I'm trying to like gauge and
like,
learn for myself before.
Here's a secret. Okay, for this particular space and Twitter, Bitcoin Twitter is awesome for this because it's just as much almost of a truth machine as Bitcoin is itself, because you'll see the people come out in droves to correct something if it ain't right. But usually what I'll do is if it's something real new, and I mean, I've been, you know, riding around here since back in 2017 in Bitcoin spaces. And if it isn't something I've ever seen before and it says that it's like Bitcoin SHA-256 like based, and it's like something that has to do with us as like the Bitcoin network, I think to myself first, is there a friggin' token with this? There better not be a friggin' token with this. And then the next thing I think of is, what if there is no token exactly is this? How does it interact with this network? And can it ever be utilized to separate me from my Bitcoin in any way, shape, or form? Or are they asking me for it in return for anything at all? Like, you know, and so I got to look at things and see there's just like certain things that if I can't answer right away, I'll go to the Bitcoin Twitter space and I'll say, guys, what the hell is this? And when I ask like that, does it sound like I'm endorsing it or anything? You know, it's so I can pretty much throw it out there and get a response that it also at the same time, I'm not going to be attacked as somebody who's, you know, endorsing or like saying like, oh, what is this? Just as a way to get it out there. Like, because there are individuals out there who have feigned idiocy to promote something, you know. There's actually a few out there, right? So sorry. Yeah, it's just when you got to clear your throat, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a good litmus test, you know, just to like.
It's just, hey, what the hell is this? I don't even know, and I need to know whether or not I need to stay away from it. And pretty much, I'd be shocked if it was a scam and you didn't get like super flooded in your thread.
Yeah, no, that's how I basically, because like I said, I'm so new, so it's like something will come up, and like, you know, you know, even like a year or so ago, like the Lightning Network I was so like naive to it, I didn't know much about it, that like the Lightning Network could have sounded like NFTs to me. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know what that is. So then I go and like, that's what's great about, you know, Bitcoin Twitter, is that you just start looking at posts. And like you said, like, so, I mean, I could do it myself now, but like, to throw out like, what is this thing? Give me the TLDR, so that like I know, and then you can tell by who's responding, like, okay, like yeah, this is a scam. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you want to see the maximalist response to this. How's it going to stand to the litmus test here?
yeah, that's like, I think even like whenever Breedlove posted and did his BitClout thing and said, just want to, it's a free and open market, and I want to be able to see, what this is, and everything like that. And like, I think it was Guy Swan, like, replied within 5 minutes, like a very concise, like, it's this. We've already gone through it. Sincerely, the free and open market. Like, it was like, I was like,
Yep,
wow, that's a
exactly.
takedown. That was a suplex from the top rope, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and
By a
no need.
reputable individual too. It's
Yeah,
like they didn't even waste no time. People that are building other things in this space and literally probably don't have time to respond to like Twitter stuff, took the time to say, look, no, man, this is this and this, period. Just that's
yeah,
it, man.
yeah,
Like,
and that's
okay.
yeah, it's a good yeah. I mean, the same, and I hope it sticks to that, because I mean, you need to have that defense system. You have to have that immune response to anything that comes in, and everybody's like, whoa, 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 like, that's what, like I said, in the movie world, where I'm like spent my entire professional career, I can see it coming from a mile away, because I've been in it for a
Mm.
very long time. um they have a lot of the same traits, but yeah, for me being in Bitcoin, I'm like, I don't, I'm gonna take cues from others. I have to do more research before I can come out and flatly like give an opinion on something. Um, that's I'm here to like shut up and learn, and I'll offer my opinion occasionally, like, but I don't know it. Like, I don't know this stuff. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing right now is it's like, hey, you don't know everything. Just like take a beat, sit back, like Elon, sit back,
That's real,
learn.
and that seems to be difficult for a lot of people nowadays. It's people, I think, feel like when they're asked a question that they need to supply a response, and even if it's superfluous and they don't know the answer, they just need to make it sound official, like so that they don't seem like I guess like they're not in the know or on an expert on whatever it is they're being questioned. But it's okay to not know. I mean,
Hmm.
if your cup's already full, man,
Yeah.
it's bound to overflow. There's nothing else that can go in. So that's why it's important to me to just always question everything, never just assume I know, and to be open-minded, uh, is just always be willing to admit when you don't know something also, because you don't know that you may be about to create some serious pain for yourself as well. That's
Yeah.
something I've seen. I saw an individual on Twitter respond to a Bitcoin core developer who has like 9 years developing and mad skills in our game. Somebody came at this guy and said that, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. And he quoted some whack Investopedia article about how Bitcoin works. And he's like, you don't know how Bitcoin works. And it's like, the guy literally has been a core developer and building Bitcoin for like a decade almost.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm like, oh man, you gotta slow down, man. And just like, when you don't know or you're not sure about something, just slow down, take it easy, and do some more homework. And like, his reply wasn't 100%, it wasn't wrong, but it wasn't like 100% either. And like, his source definitely was like, I would have been ashamed of that bibliography.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just like, man, it's gonna be painful. And it was ugly to watch. And so yeah, it's important to just be able to say that, yeah, I don't necessarily know, and let me find out more, because I value somebody who's willing to admit when they don't know something more than somebody who just knows everything.
Same. Yeah, if you can say, I don't know, I need to research that. That's a huge sign to me that you're somebody that I want to deal with. Um, and the other thing is too is it's so obvious when somebody starts talking about something that they have no idea about, like, and whether it's a meme or if it's something like technical, but and that's also where I'm like left out in the dust too. I feel like I'm in my 30s, but I feel like such an old man with all these memes where it's like I just got the banana bread one down and now like something else is happening. And it's like I saw somebody post a meme that it was like, I just figured this one out. Why are we on to something else already? I was like,
Yeah.
that's how I feel nowadays. So just like
No, I'm in my 30s too. It's not like that. It's just that in the Bitcoin overlay, things evolve and change so fast.
very
And
quick.
it is what it is, but it's a beautiful thing. And the most wonderful part about it is that I'd say 95% of the stuff that's being built out there is being built in free and open source ways, and that's huge. That's, to me, that's big deal, and that's what allows so much innovation and change to happen so rapidly too, I believe, is that people aren't like, being selfish and hiding, and it's like if they've discovered something that's great and can benefit the community, they throw it out there, and then people respect that. They'll go to that source, and they'll build it. It's great versus like the way some of the other stuff happens, and it's not very efficient the way the other stuff happens. And then you get a lot of issues with the way other stuff happens. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, and I usually do this at the beginning, but I wanted to get right into the the type of mining you do and everything, because I think it's very different than what most people are used to. But I'm also curious, so how did you get into Bitcoin? How did you first hear about it? What's your Bitcoin story?
Oh, the rabbit hole story. Well, mine ain't no big old like grand tale or nothing. I literally, was back in 16. I did all right with equities, right? And I still wasn't, on to Bitcoin yet officially. And then 17 came around and I was mesmerized by the caca coins that was out there. And literally I slipped and fell in caca, my friend. They had stuff going on. Yeah, they had stuff going on like BitConnect and Devore coins, and there was so many different they're literally just Ponzi coins. The guys coming in, that money was going to pay out the percentages to the guys who had already been in, and then it was like MLM all the way. And it was just a nightmare if you really would like get down into the nitty gritty. And they disguised it as an algorithm is trading, and it's making these percentage point gains, and your capital goes towards this algorithm fund, and then they pay out based on the gains that it made through the trading. And I'm like, oh wow, that's neat. Wow, okay, boom, let me try this. Then like a couple months later, the Security Exchange Commission comes around and is like, yeah, that's all bogus. And I'm like, it seemed a little too good to be true. Okay. I probably should have done some more homework, but all that glitters was gold in the caca coin community. So I, was mesmerized by all the flash, and I noticed that the one thing that all of these caca coins had in common was that I had to send them Bitcoin. Send Bitcoin to the exchange in exchange for whatever I was doing or getting that would present this, this yield. Bitcoin, I had to get that and send it. And that was the common denominator for every single one of them. They didn't want a checking account. They didn't want a routing number, a credit card number, or nothing. They wanted me to buy Bitcoin and send that. And I was like, I got to look more into just what the hell is this? Like, because I was already sold that, oh, this is, so amazing, but really it was just MLM Ponzi stuff out the gate. But what's this underlying thing here, this Bitcoin? Why was that the one thing that they wanted? I went and I, did some homework on that. I went, and was doing the web search and everything, and I found the BitcoinTalk.org, and I found white paper, and I just, 2017 is when I fell down the rabbit hole.
Good time to fall down the rabbit hole.
Unfortunately, yeah, I slid down it through caca.
Yeah. Well, you had to fall down the turd herd.
But you know what? I was, instead of like, a lot of people then were saying, oh, don't worry, it's just gonna be like a temporary thing that it won't go away. And I was like, screw that. I literally took and like withdrew all the funds that I had and went back to a cash position until I had figured out, what exactly was up with Bitcoin. And then it was all in 100 from there. But yeah, I was lucky. I took I think it was like a 35 to 40% haircut on my way out. So
yeah, that's
man.
Yeah, that's we all, I think, learn our lesson. Fortunately for me, the only, like shitcoin exposure I ever did was, but like, I mean, whenever the money printer went off in March of 2020, well, the signal was there that it was going to happen. Like, I mean, 401k, everything, anything that had cash value was cashed out and put into Bitcoin. But I did buy one ETH just because I was like, somebody who I had talked to and trust. I mean, I still trust them to a degree because they just haven't done enough research, but they were like, oh, like Ethereum has more use cases, blah blah blah. So I just bought it for that reason. And then yeah, it was like the summer of, like, I never even looked at the ETH. Like, I just let it sit there and wasn't paying attention to it. And then, it was finally like, I think beginning of 2021 where I realized, like, I was like, oh my God. Well, I told this story to my audience, so I don't want to bore them with it. But I mean, I almost invented a shitcoin in December of last year. And I realized what I was doing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm just trying to enrich myself. That's why I would do this. So I stopped. And yeah. And then I figured out that, actually a couple episodes ago, so if anybody is listening and hasn't heard my episode with Ben Ark, who with LN Bit, he and I talked about it actually during the podcast, the idea, everything, and like it can be free and open source software. We're going to make it. It's going to work on top. It's going to work with lightning nodes and everything. And he was like, he did give me props. He was like, props to you for not, turning this into a token that you could have made money off of. And I was like, I mean, it just, I felt icky. So, like, I then going from that, and then I started looking at the ETH because I never even paid attention to it. I was all about Bitcoin. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I holding this thing? And then I realized that it's just to eventually sell it and have somebody overpay for it. And that's not what Bitcoin is. You're never selling Bitcoin. You're holding it forever. And so I Bitcoin Tina last night, I heard him on a Twitter space say something. He said, like, the house is on fire, and we have to be very careful, and you have to go to what's real. You have to avoid all these scams because not everybody realizes the house is on fire yet.
Right.
And I was like, man, that is like, if you had any kind of shitcoins and you didn't sell it immediately after that, the last ETH I even had, I sold it. I had like on a wallet somewhere, I found like, I think it was like $10 worth of ETH, and to sell it, the gas fees made me lose like $20, but I thought it was worth it. So I actually paid $20 to get rid of it. I was like, get it out of here. I don't want this anymore.
Good for you.
And I credit people like you and everybody else online. It's like, where you just sit there and you start to realize how gross these other projects are, but you don't be ashamed of it. Like, everybody, it seems like, for the most part, has stumbled down and tripped in, some shitcoins. It's just,
Well, they're, the ones that go directly into Bitcoin, I I applaud them for,
That's like Hall of Fame level.
Signal, they saw the signal and they beelined right into that. And then there's also a lot more people making noise about it right now too. But
yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate that so many other people end up, coming through that way. But that's why I'm not against the toxicity either, because if what I say saves somebody else pain, then I don't feel bad about that.
Yeah. And I'll be honest. I mean, if it wasn't for, I mean, I didn't even have my Twitter account at the time. I had like my random anonymous one that I used to follow like sports and stuff like that. And then started following Bitcoin. And if it wasn't for the extreme pushback I kept seeing, I don't know if I would have saw what it was, like people say that there's, if Ethereum had a 70% pre-mine, and that makes you ask the question, what's the point of it? Like, oh, it was to enrich themselves. So hopefully, we have more people, you are going down the right path, I think. And I always say, don't be mean, just point out the flaws, be stern, push back. I mean, don't be afraid to be confrontational.
Some people take pushback as, like you
as
said,
being mean.
Meanness, right? I mean, if you just don't accept their idea, then you're a bad guy. Like, no, just because you tell me that you like the way doo-doo tastes and you're going to put it on your plate doesn't mean that you get to come to my table and serve it to my plate and tell me that it tastes good. I'm going to tell you, no, sir, please take your plate and leave my house. And if that's mean, if I'm being mean because I'm telling you to get out of my house because you want to eat caca at my table, then I guess I'm a bad, mean guy. But I see it as financial sanitation.
Yeah, and I'll be mean in that scenario any day. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming on. Where can people, find you? I mean, we know if they go to coinbeast.com and click on the Connect tab, they can find you there to book some time. But on Twitter and everything, give people a handoff as to where they can follow you.
Yeah, man, follow me on Twitter at HODL Tarantula. And also, you can follow our Bitcoin Mining Corporation if you like. It's at Midstream CO, and we're always looking to plug in more ASICs. That's just what we do. That's what I do.
Awesome. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I enjoy talking with you. If you ever want to do it again, just let me know.
Absolutely.